picture yourself suspended like 7 feet above a circus floor. You are gripping a trapeze bar with chalked, sweating hands.
Oh, that is a terrifying image right out of the gate.
Right. But think about it. This bar has carried your entire weight for years. It's your current job title. It's your hard-earned industry status. It is your identity.
Yeah, and it feels utterly safe because, well, you know the exact friction of the tape beneath your fingers.
Exactly. You know it perfectly. But the momentum is dying. The swing is slowly dying down. And to catch the next wind, to grab the bar, swinging toward you from the dark, you have to do the most unnatural thing in the world.
You have to open your hand.
You just have to let go. Welcome to part 6 of our 11-part cinematic deep dive series. We're exploring Breeze Dong's book, A Soulful Transition, finding heart-led career in the age of AI.
And today we're looking directly at that agonizingly empty space between the bars. It's what chapter 6 of the book calls the void.
Yes, the void. And our mission for this deep dive is to completely re-engineer how you view this space. Because if you are currently, in the middle of a career transition, floating in that silence with no title and no safety net, that void is not a glitch in your life.
No, not at all. It's not a punishment. It is the exact necessary terrain where your future is forged.
I love that.
Yeah.
So to really understand why this hang time is so vital, we first need to look at the structural collapse happening underneath the whole trapeze act.
Right. Historically, we didn't have to swing through the air at all. I mean, we were just given a ladder.
And the classic corporate ladder.
Exactly. You started on the bottom rung as a junior. You stepped up to senior, then director, then VP. It was a very rigid, predictable structure anchored firmly into the ground.
And a ladder makes sense. It's linear. You put in the time, you climb the rung, it's safe.
It was safe. But the reality of the AI age is that algorithms are uniquely designed to consume those vertical routine tasks. If your career progression relies on simply doing a repetitive linear task slightly faster than the person below you, well, software can already do it a million times faster.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even a competition anymore.
Right. So because of that automation, the rigid corporate ladder has just dissolved. We aren't climbing a mountain anymore. We are navigating an archipelago.
I really love that visual, an archipelago. So instead of climbing rungs, we're essentially moving from island to island.
Yes.
And an island might be a 2-year project or a freelance stint, a creative collaboration, maybe a temporary leadership role.
And moving between those islands requires swimming. I mean, the skills required to climb a rigid wooden ladder are entirely different from the skills required to navigate open ocean currents.
That makes total sense.
And that space between the islands, the open water that is the void, Dunn and Perry's metaphor of the trapeze artist captures the psychological terror of this transition perfectly. You have to leave the solid eye.
Let's unpack that concept of the solid eye for a second. I tend to think of a professional title like a really heavy winter coat.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. If you are the VP of marketing or a senior engineer, wearing that coat feels incredibly insulating. You walk into a room, and people understand your value immediately.
They see the coat, they know who you are.
Exactly. You are protected from the elements of doubt. But eventually the industry shifts, or your own heart shifts, and that coat just becomes suffocating.
So you take it off, you let go of that first trapeze bar. But the next bar, which represents your right livelihood, your reason for being, or what organizational theorists call a teal future, hasn't reached you yet.
Wait, a teal future?
Yeah, meaning a work life driven by wholeness and evolutionary purpose rather than just, profit. But that bar hasn't swung to you yet.
Right, there's a gap.
The physical and spiritual reality of transition is that the two bars are rarely close enough to just transfer your grip easily. You are suspended.
You are just a body suspended in gravity with no title and no status. Which honestly raises a massive psychological problem for us.
Oh, a huge one.
We are culturally conditioned to constantly build, climb, produce. So when there's suddenly no solid ground beneath our feet and we are just floating in the empty void, how are we supposed to trust that we won't just fall to our deaths?
Well, we view emptiness as a defect in the West. It's like a hole in our resume that urgently needs to be patched.
Yes, exactly.
But if we look through the lens of Eastern philosophy, specifically the Tao, emptiness is entirely reframed. The void or wu is never empty.
It's not.
No, it is pregnant with potential. It is the pu, the uncarved block. It represents the state of pure possibility before the wood is forcefully hacked and shaped into a rigid tool. The emptiness isn't a mistake.
Okay, I hear that. But even if I logically understand that the void is pure potential, my nervous system does not care.
Right, your body's still freaking out.
Floating in that space feels like a literal panic attack. My brain isn't whispering, hey, enjoy this uncarved block. It's screaming, flail your arms and grab anything.
And that panic is a symptom of our modern addiction to motion. We use speed as a proxy for our own worthiness, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
If we are rushing between meetings, shipping products, and just drowning in emails, we never have to actually sit with the underlying anxiety of our own existence.
That is so true. We just outrun it.
Exactly. There is a Tibetan concept called lung, which translates to wind or energy, that explains this perfectly.
Okay, so how does this internal wind dictate our reaction to the void?
When our lives are balanced, our lung flows smoothly, like a calm, deep river. This balanced energy state produces something called essence love.
Essence love. What is that exactly?
It's a basic, unshakable warmth and acceptance toward your own existence, regardless of what you produce.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing.
It is. But the modern economy is a giant, roaring machine designed to whip up that wind. Deadlines, social media notifications, the constant pressure to optimize it all drives the wind into an absolute frenzy.
So we lose that calmness.
We develop what's called speedy lung. The energy rises from our core and gets trapped in a swirling vortex in our chests and heads.
It feels like being a passenger on a runaway horse galloping toward a cliff edge. You know, you're just white-knuckling the mane entirely out of control.
Yeah, but you're pretending you are the one steering so people think you have your life together.
Exactly.
Now imagine that runaway horse abruptly stops, you enter the void, maybe you were laid off or maybe you bravely chose to quit.
Right.
The external motion of your life goes to zero, but your internal speedy lung has nowhere to go. It continues to spin at 100 miles an hour inside your chest.
Ugh, that feeling of trapped kinetic energy.
Yes, and as it spins, it starts to crack the lingering shell of that solid eye.
And through those cracks, the beautiful monsters start crawling in. I mean, these are those vicious, terrifying internal voices.
They are brutal.
They start whispering, you are lazy, or you are falling behind, or honestly, the absolute worst one. Everyone else your age is already settling into their new house, and you are just floating in the ocean with nothing to show for it.
What becomes immediately apparent in the void is that the transition isn't difficult because we lack professional skills. It is agonizing because we have lost all tolerance for our own silence.
That hits hard.
So to quiet the monsters, we panic. We try to fill the silence with busy work just to feel the comforting, familiar friction of doing something.
I have to be honest, I struggle with this immensely. When I feel that panic, my immediate instinct is to jump on LinkedIn, update my resume 50 times, or just send out 10 cold emails to companies I don't even care about.
It feels proactive, right?
It does. It feels like I'm doing something. How is that a bad thing? Isn't doing something like literally anything better than just floating there while your savings account drains?
In the ladder climbing era, brute forcing your way through panic sometimes actually worked. But this is where the reality of the AI age completely flips the script.
How so?
Filling silence by immediately jumping to past solutions, what we can call downloading the past, is a dead end. AI can download the past, format a resume, and optimize an outreach email infinitely faster than you can.
Right. It's built for that.
If you race to do busy work, you are competing directly on the machine's turf. The unique human advantage is the ability to float in that open, ambiguous air long enough to actually sense the wind of the future.
Oh, I see.
A large language model cannot sit in silence and feel a gut instinct.
Okay, so if busy work is a trap, how do we actually survive these monsters without losing our minds in the void? Because we obviously can't outrun them.
We have to start trying to skip across the surface of the problem. We have to descend into the valley.
The valley. Okay, let's go there.
There is a framework called Theory U that maps this process beautifully. It mirrors the ancient hero's journey and the Taoist concept of return. Most of us, fueled by that speedy lung, try to bridge a gap by drawing a straight horizontal line from the old job to the new job. But Theory U argues that real transformation requires drawing a U shape.
So going down first.
Exactly. You have to travel down the left side of the U, into the messy, uncomfortable middle, hit the absolute bottom, and only then can you ascend the right side into the new reality.
So how do we actually start that descent down the left side? The book mentions the first steps are suspension and turning the lamp inward.
Yes. Suspension means literally hanging our judgments up in the air.
Okay, so when that internal voice yells, taking time off to think is career suicide, You don't argue with it. You don't try to rationalize it. You just bow to it, acknowledge it, and suspend it.
Which naturally leads to turning the lamp inward. You stop projecting your anxiety outward onto the job market or the economy, and you focus the light internally. You shift your entire operating system from thinking about your career to sensing your body in the present moment.
Right, like paying attention to the knot in your stomach when you look at a certain job description, or the tightness in your throat when you try to sell yourself as something you're not.
It's like crossing a glass bridge suspended over a canyon. Your logical mind can look at the engineering and know the glass is 3 inches thick and perfectly safe.
Yeah, but your body, your nervous system looks down at the abyss and screams that you are falling to your death. The void is that glass bridge.
And that visceral biological scream is exactly why we need a mechanism to cope with the descent. This brings us to the handshake practice.
The handshake practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you are on that glass bridge, your mind is a hurricane. You cannot fight a hurricane with a spreadsheet of career pros and cons.
Definitely not.
You have to meet the storm with hospitality. In many Eastern traditions, the guest is sacred. You must host them, even if that guest happens to be a screaming demon.
You literally invite the demon to sit down and have tea. Because these difficult emotions, these beautiful monsters, are not actually enemies trying to destroy you. They are just your own trapped energy.
Exactly.
They are roaring to protect you from perceived danger. Let's really slow down here, because the handshake practice gives us 5 specific physiological steps to host this panic.
Let's go through them.
Step 1 is drop the story. You have to get out of your analyzing, ruminating brain and drop your awareness down into the physical body.
Step 2 is locate the sensation. Where does the panic actually live right now? Is it a fluttering in the chest? A crushing weight on the shoulders?
You don't try to fix it, right?
Right. You don't try to massage it away. You just observe it objectively, the way you would look at a heavy stone sitting in a garden.
And step 3 is where the magic happens. It's a profound cognitive shift using a specific mantra. Real, but not true.
It's such a brilliant distinction to make.
It really is. You look directly at that crushing sensation in your chest, and you say out loud, "This feeling is real, but the story it is telling me is not true."
It validates the biological reality. Your amygdala is firing, your heart is racing, your palms are sweating. That is happening. It is real.
Right. But the narrative attached to it, the voice saying you are worthless and you will never work again, is an illusion.
Yes.
I like to think of it like thick mist passing over a mountain. The mist is a real weather event. It completely blinds you. But the mist is not the mountain. It has no structural permanence. It just passes by.
By separating the biological reality from the psychological fiction, you can move safely to step 4, handshake.
The actual handshake.
You imagine extending a gentle, welcoming hand to that physical sensation. You aren't trying to crush the fear, and you aren't trying to fix it. You are simply telling it, I see you. I know you are terrified. I know you're trying to keep me safe. I am here with you.
Which naturally triggers the 5th and final step, the
Yeah.
shift. When you literally shake hands with the fear, the monster stops roaring. It just wanted to be acknowledged, you know?
And when it relaxes, all of that intense, speedy lung energy that was locked up in the panic is suddenly liberated. It melts from a block of ice into flowing water. It becomes fuel.
And with that liberated energy, you can finally drop all the way down to the very bottom of the U. This is the inflection point. It's a state of presencing.
Which aligns beautifully with the Taoist concept of wu-wei, which translates to actionless action.
And we should be very clear here for anyone worried about productivity. Actionless action is not laziness. It is not sitting on the couch binging television to numb out.
Far from it. Wu-wei is the highly alert, deeply engaged stillness of a cat waiting patiently outside a mouse hole.
Oh, that's a great image.
The cat isn't actively doing anything, but its entire nervous system is primed. In this space at the bottom of the void, you aren't aggressively strategizing. You are listening for the future that wants to emerge through you.
It's an active listening.
Exactly. And returning to the context of the AI age, this alert stillness is your ultimate competitive moat. AI cannot presence.
Right, it has no presence.
It cannot sit in the dark valley and feel a shift in the cultural wind. It only processes what human beings have already done.
The future is a seed waiting in the soil, and it literally requires the dark silence to germinate. Breeze Dong shares a deeply personal experience of hitting this exact bottom of the U in the book.
Yes.
After all the panic and the handshakes, the whisper that finally emerged wasn't some rigid 5-year corporate strategy. It was just a simple, almost absurdly quiet phrase. Write about the human heart.
Which logically didn't make sense as a career move.
Not at all. But biologically, it felt warm. It had a pulse. So once you are sitting in the dark and you finally hear that whisper, what is the next move? You have to start the ascent up the right side of the U.
Yes, but the ascent requires immense discipline, because the moment you hear that whisper and feel a spark of inspiration, Speedy Lung is going to try to hijack the driver's seat again.
Oh, totally.
It will scream, "We have an idea! We must immediately incorporate an LLC, build a massive website, and launch an empire by Tuesday."
This just wants to rush everything.
But we have to lean on a famous piece of Chinese economic reform wisdom here. Cross the river by feeling the stones. You cannot rush the harvest. You have to move into prototyping.
Prototyping challenges every ounce of our cultural conditioning. We celebrate the overnight success. When we get a good idea, we want to launch the massive company tomorrow to prove to everyone that our time in the void wasn't wasted.
It's natural to want to prove yourself.
But think back to our archipelago metaphor. When you are swimming in the open ocean between islands, you don't suddenly tread water and try to build a massive, heavy galleon.
You drown.
Exactly. You build a tiny raft of driftwood just to see which way the current is pulling.
You plant what are called small bamboo shoots. These are low-stakes, high-learning actions. The critical thing to understand about prototyping is that the goal is not success.
It's not.
No, the goal is strictly data collection. You are trying to fail as early and as cheaply as possible so your body can learn quickly. There are 4 incredibly practical examples of these stones you can feel for in the river.
Let's explore what those actually look like in practice. Say your whisper tells you that you want to help businesses operate more ethically. The first stone is the consultant stone.
Right.
Instead of spending 6 months and $10,000 legally incorporating a consulting firm and designing a logo, you find one friend who owns a small business. Offer to look at their operations for free over a cup of coffee.
And the only data you are looking for is biological. Did spending those 2 hours helping them give you energy, or did it completely drain you?
That's the only metric that matters at that stage. Or perhaps your whisper leans toward research. Then you reach for the scholar stone.
Yeah, before you commit to writing a 300-page book on a topic which will take years of isolation, you write a single short white paper or a blog post on one specific problem.
Does the writing flow, or is it a miserable slog?
Exactly. You can also test the teacher stone. Rather than applying for a full-time professorship or building an expensive online course, reach out to a local community college or a meetup group.
Yeah, offer to give a 20-minute guest lecture. Stand at the front of the room and sense how your body reacts to holding that space.
And finally, if your whisper is about building community, you try the connector stone. Instead of renting a ballroom and trying to launch a massive networking organization, invite 5 interesting people to your apartment for dinner.
Cook them a simple meal and facilitate the conversation. Are you in a state of flow while doing that, or are you just exhausted?
You are basically swinging your hand out in the dark, testing different trapeze bars.
You are going to miss a few times. I mean, the 20-minute lecture might be a disaster. The dinner party might be awkward.
But because you now have the handshake practice, you can handle the fall.
Exactly. Eventually, your hand is going to brush against something solid. You will feel the cold steel of the right bar, and you'll know it's time to grab it.
But we cannot romanticize this. Building driftwood rafts and feeling for stones sounds deeply poetic on a deep dive, but the day-to-day Tuesday morning reality of waiting in the void is excruciating.
It really is.
We live in a culture that exclusively rewards the harvest. It demands visible, measurable output. It fundamentally does not understand or respect the fallow season.
Which means the people closest to you are going to inadvertently make this harder. Your family, your friends, your former colleagues, they're going to project their own Speedy Lung onto you.
Oh, constantly.
You'd be at a family dinner, and they will continually ask, so what are you doing next? Have you updated your resume? Have you talked to that recruiter?
And when you calmly tell them, I am waiting for the mud to settle so I can see the water clearly, they're going to look at you like you are completely unhinged.
They really are.
The only defense against that external pressure is to respond with essence love. You have to recognize that their nagging isn't actually about you. It is just their own unexamined fear of empty space speaking.
Right.
Because the quality of your entire next decade depends entirely on your ability to tolerate this temporary in-between space. If you succumb to their pressure and rush the process, you will inevitably just rebuild the exact same suffocating house you just burned down.
But if you have the courage to wait and to listen, you can build a temple.
Beautifully said.
It represents a total paradigm shift in how we navigate our lives. The old company man, climbing the ladder, only needed to map a pre-drawn step-by-step route to the corner office. But the new conscious professional swimming through the archipelago needs a compass.
A compass, yes.
And what blows my mind is how this framework completely re-engineers our understanding of fear. Your physical body is the compass. Your fear is not a roadblock telling you to turn back. It is literally the magnetic needle showing you where the energy and the growth are located.
And the handshake practice acts as your magnetic north, keeping you oriented when the storm hits.
So to help people actually implement this, the book provides a void survival kit, right?
It does. It has 3 daily practices you can start immediately. The first is the void check-in. This is a daily bow to your reality.
Okay, how does that work?
Once a day, you stop, close your eyes, and ask, what is the actual texture of my experience right now? Is it jagged, smooth, heavy, light? Whatever sensation arises, you perform the handshake. You treat it as a guest.
So you're just building a habit.
Exactly. This builds the neurological muscle of presence, which is the exact muscle you will need to catch the next trapeze bar when it finally appears.
The second tool is the micro-prototype. You look at all the faint, bizarre whispers you've been actively ignoring because they don't seem practical. You pick one, and you do one microscopic thing this week to pull it into the physical world, draft the outline, buy the domain name, send the scary email, sketch the design, and you just track the data. Did it spark a fire, or did it feel heavy?
And the third tool is the presencing journal. When you are deep in the valley and feeling utterly lost, you sit down and ask yourself 3 orienting questions.
What are they?
First, what is dying in my life right now, like autumn leaves that must naturally fall? Second, what is trying to be born, like a spring shoot pushing through the hard soil?
And the third?
And third, and most importantly, who is the quiet, observing self that is watching both the dying and the birthing happen simultaneously?
That is profound. So to pull all of these threads together, the terrifying void between the trapeze bars is not an error in your career path. It is the kiln.
The kiln.
It is the intense, fiery, pressurized environment where the new AI-proof, deeply human version of you is hardened into shape. You have to trust the hang time. The next bar is coming.
It ultimately comes down to trusting the water to hold you up when the wooden ladder disappears.
So as we wrap up part 6 of this cinematic deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. It builds directly on the beautiful truth that the future is a seed waiting in the soil, and the lotus flower can only grow in the thickest mud. If you are listening to this right now and you're sitting in the mud of the void feeling immense guilt because you think you're doing absolutely nothing, what if the act of sitting still is actually the most active, revolutionary thing you can possibly do in an economy completely obsessed with artificial speed?
What a thought.
What if your stillness is the only environment where a truly uncomputable, uniquely human future can actually germinate? Keep floating. We will see you in the next deep dive.